Greetings, good morning, and welcome to Mind the Moment. This, my friends, is our coffee house in the cloud, a place for us to come together, build community, get centered, and ready ourselves in this moment for all the moments still to come. It is July 28th, 2020, which is celebrated in some quarters of the world as World Conservation Day. Now, when I think of nature in the context of mindfulness, I am most often reminded of the work of Mark Coleman, well known for merging the contemplation of nature with the practice of meditation. Coleman wrote, quote, "In nature, we can feel a living connection with life all around us. Being outdoors, we can taste how we are held and nourished exquisitely by the intricate web of life that is supporting us in every moment, every breath. It helps us to discover our place in the scheme of things and perhaps to realize we are already whole. Intimacy with nature can both heal us and teach us to be in harmony and at peace with ourselves and the world." End quote, Mark Coleman. I am John Roberts from Harvard Pilgrim Health Care's mindfulness program, and I feel nourished exquisitely by the knowledge that sitting virtually beside me is Mary Starr Green, mindfulness and yoga teacher extraordinaire. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, John, and good morning, everybody. Thank you for leading off with that, John. I didn't know, I wasn't aware of this day. Being
Yes,
nature lover. Wow.
I don't think it's not recognized as a federal holiday here in the United States yet. I think it might actually be something that is more more present in Europe and South Asia, but maybe we'll catch on before too long.
I hope so.
In just a couple of moments, I will ask Mary to lead us in a 10-minute guided meditation. And following that, we'll take a few moments for Q&A and then wrap things up just around 9 a.m. Now, if you haven't already done so, folks, please take a moment to open up the chat box, which is accessible at the bottom of your screen. You use that chat box to type in any questions or comments that might come to mind. We'd love to know what you're thinking about today. That said, Mary, is there anything that you'd like to ask the folks at home to comment on as we're getting started?
Okay. Yes. So briefly, let's say 3 words or less, describe in this moment how you're feeling. And you might say that as a mood or a physical feeling. 3 words or less.
Fantastic. All right, so while folks are typing, a huge thanks to everyone for tuning in and taking the time to be with us and each other. I guess keep in mind that only Mary and I will be able to see anything that you type. And if we don't read your particular question or comment on air, please do be aware that we read and appreciate them all. Before we close, I will point out some other ways that you can keep in touch with us too. All right, so some folks chiming in here. Let's get that scrolled up. Someone says they feel content, stressed, 3 words in a row: happy, hungry, energetic. I like that. Excited for the future, grateful for nature, warm, joyful, and present, hopeful, excited and curious, hot and anxious. It is a hot day today here in New England. Okay right now, someone else says happy, excited, and positive, patient, and potently paused. Wow, that's okay. I'm gonna end on that one. Okay, and so Mary, I'm gonna do something which I don't normally do, which is I'm gonna ask you to lead us in a particular type of meditative practice. And I want to cue up this ask with an anecdote. All right, so last week, I was invited, along with some colleagues, yourself included, Mary, to take part in a research study that was being conducted online. And it went like this. Participants were asked to imagine incidents in which they felt a particular emotion, like anxiety or excitement or joy or fear. And then they were supposed to check boxes in a list corresponding to where in their bodies they were experiencing physical sensations related to those feelings. So before I got started taking this study, I thought this is going to be easy. I thought the boxes corresponding to the different parts of the body were going to be like top, middle, bottom. Much to my chagrin, however, it turned out that we were supposed to report on physical sensations all over the body, including parts of the body I rarely think about, each of them with a corresponding box which I could either check or leave blank. So when I was imagining a time when I felt excited, for example, I was supposed to report, do I feel a sensation in my forehead or my scalp or my earlobes or my teeth or my big toe or my small toe or my ankle or my knee or behind my knee or under my tongue? etc. I found this to be very, very difficult because, but you know, I consider myself to be somebody who does really good on tests. And so I thought, I'm going to nail this. And so I tried really hard to figure out exactly where I was feeling the sensations related to each emotional memory. By the end, I was exhausted, and I thought to myself, was that worth it? But then, later in the day, I was driving back from Western Massachusetts, having just picked up 25 pounds of fresh blueberries, and there happened to be this guy swerving through traffic on the highway because he apparently did not like that the other people on the road were not driving as fast as he was. And I got really angry because I thought, I'm going to end up in the ditch covered in 25 pounds of blueberries because of this guy. But as soon as I felt the anger, I realized I knew exactly where it was appearing in my body. I was like, I feel the anger in my temples, my chest, my hands, and the fourth toe on my left foot. And I thought, wow, how did I just do that? And my anger actually disappeared because I became so fascinated with how I was able to sense the sensations so precisely in those particular parts of my body. And I knew I was only able to do it because I'd spent so much time earlier in the day concentrating on doing that while participating in the study. So I realized something which I'd never fully grasped before, which is the importance of the body scan, and how when we do body scans, we're actually preparing ourselves in part to better see how emotional states correspond to physical sensations, so that just the fact of that awareness may serve to diminish the otherwise uncontrolled intensity of both the physical and emotional states which are arising. Okay, so Mary, that was a very large lead-in to me asking if you would take us through a body scan this morning. I think that'd be very helpful for me and hopefully for the folks at home as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, John. And yes, and I also took that survey and just want to be clear that there was also a box that you check if you don't feel anything at all, which is also part of this. So if you're new at this, you know, it's not about getting it right or wrong. But we'll start just by getting comfortable. That's always the first way to go. So you can sit, you can stand. What we're going to do next is just, be in a way that just feels comfortable in your body. And part of that for me, and I'll invite you too, is to just notice the support that's under you. Your eyes can be open at this point if you want. You're welcome to soften your gaze or close it if you feel more comfortable. So knowing where you are and also knowing it through the body that is supported. So in other words, I'm sitting in a chair. I can feel my feet on the floor. You can feel my backside supported by a cushion, by the chair. And so just sensing for yourself where you feel the weight of the body settling in. And that's it, you're grounding. I find it's also helpful to kind of move around and to settle into what feels like a center point within your body. Not right or wrong, but in other words, you may shift a little bit right and left, or forward and back, so that you can sense that there might be a stable point that feels like, for me in this moment, aligned, steady. All right, there, so we're grounded, a sense of a stable alignment. And just tap into the breath. Just notice the breath that's moving in and out. Whole body breathing. As we get ready to prepare for this body scan, which is just a way of settling into here and now, just an overall sense of the body. As we systematically move through different parts of the body, it's okay to take a slight movement into that place if you wish, connect with it, and aware of any sensations that you might notice or that you might not notice. So as we have a sense of the overall body from head to toe and all the support that's under, the body aligned and breathing, settling into this moment. Bring your awareness up to the very top of your head. There may be even a way, just with that invitation, the very crown, as if you had just a gentle thread at the crown of your head that is gently lifting you skyward. Maybe noticing that spine elongating or not. There we go. And how you can hold the tension at the crown of the head, noticing what's there. And then let your awareness kind of move throughout the front of the head, the area of the face, and along the forehead. What might you notice in this part of the body? Maybe in terms of temperature or pulsing. It might be at the level of bone or of muscle around the bone, softness or tension or not. And settling down into the jaws. Again, it's fine to take a little movement there. And so we're holding attention here. And then from the face, from this area of the forehead and the jaw, move around to the back of the head and all the way down into the neck. And then just scan as if you had a little flashlight, just kind of scanning around, taking in the front and the sides and the back of the neck. We're a three-dimensional structure, so you just kind of let it move around. What might you notice? And then let it drop down into the area of the shoulders. Sensing left and the right shoulders. Can you hold awareness at this area, aware of tightness, soft, warm, pulsing, nothing at all. And then let your attention move down from the shoulders down through the arms and just let it slide all the way down, all the way down through the arms, and the elbows, the forearms, the wrists, and then let your attention settle down into your hands. And then settle that awareness kind of flowing out through the fingers, the thumbs, all the way to the tips. And hold within your awareness the entire hand and fingers and thumbs, the front, right, the palms, the back of the hands. Again, this three-dimensional portion of the body. Are your hands connected to any part of the body? And you sense the weight of the hands supported. So we're just kind of hanging out here. You might be aware of sensations moving or no sensations at all. You may notice the mind is distracted, bored, restless. And that's also mindful awareness of this moment. You can just kindly escort attention back into the hands. We're going to move right back up the hands, up the arms, all the way up to the shoulders, then move them around to the back body where your shoulder blades are. Again, it's okay to give a little movement there, noticing what you notice. And dropping all the way down, go all the way down the length of the spine. All the way down. If you're sitting, kind of moving all the way down from the spinal column down into the pelvis. Again, this whole three-dimensional part of the body. The front, the back, the sides. Moving around to the front of the body into the abdominal area. And so let your awareness move up and down the front of the torso, from the abdominal area, up through the area of where we call in the rib cage, everything's supported in the rib cage, up to the chest and collarbones. And so we have a larger region of the body here. So you're just scanning with awareness or kind of bringing and widening that filter of your awareness to the front of the body. Sensing for sensations. And here you may also be aware of movement in the body, that rhythmic movement, perhaps associated with the breath, moving in and out, filling and emptying the lungs. Just pausing here, observing, with kindness and curiosity. Now we're going to let attention drop down and away from this front part of the body, down, 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 down through the hips, settling right down there into the support of the hips and the buttocks. And start to send your awareness down through the legs. We've got left and right, so aware of that centered part, the left and right, down through the upper legs, through the knee joint, through the lower legs, down into the ankles. And then let your awareness settle down into your feet, the entire foot, the sole of the feet, heels, top of the feet, into the toes. And it's okay to wiggle. Maybe the feet are free of socks or shoes. Find to wiggle the toes. And then pause in that stillness, taking it all in. Is it possible to discern one toe from the next in regards to sensations? Not thinking or analyzing. We're just relaxed, but training our attention to stay to this portion of the body. And now, as we're beginning to end this, imagine you're stepping back, so kind of again widening that filter so that you're aware of the entire body. In terms of sensations, this body that is grounded and supported, head to toe, right and left, front and back, this three-dimensional weight, gravity acting on the whole body and the body breathing. I'm going to count back from 5 to 1 as we kind of formally end this meditation. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So you can open the eyes if they've been closed. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you for that, Mary. I feel like I want to stress that, I've been meditating for about 10 years now, and this is really the first time I'm getting to understand the body scan. This is just to say to folks, if you are beginning your practice, it's okay if you don't get everything at first, because it will all ripen in time. I was sitting with one meditation teacher who said, "Don't worry, it's just the first 20 years of practice are the hardest, and then it starts to get easy." So I want folks to certainly feel very encouraged to ask Mary any questions you may have for her about the body scan or anything else using the chat box. While you think and type, Mary, let me ask you, sort of continuing on the same riff, do you have any examples of times in your own life when realizing that interconnectivity of the emotional and the physical was particularly helpful to you?
Yes, and I would also preface it by saying I am also aware with how disconnected I was with my body at a large swath of my life, and there's a variety of reasons that this would happen for any of us, and it's not uncommon, but I would say pretty disconnected. So the body scan was a game changer after, a while, took a little bit of getting used to. But, the most dramatic example I have of it, John, was the very first time I was in the passenger seat with my timid, cautious daughter, just having her learner's permit. And the very first time I was with her and she was pulling out onto a busy road. And what I noticed was, it's almost happening now, hitting the stomach, palms are sweaty, head is throbbing, just sweating, just immense anxiety. And I was aware that that was what it was. So it's like, I'm anxious. I know she's anxious. This is not helpful. So the next piece was, I knew it wasn't helpful. And I was able to kind of resource, okay, ground myself, take some deeper breaths, imagine her entering that flow confidently. So that was helpful to have that knowledge of my sort of mild freaking out in that moment.
Yeah, I feel like if anyone is having trouble connecting to the body scan instructions, they should just go and take a drive, especially if you're living near Boston, because that will really put you face to face, I think, with sensations and emotions as you're going about that. Somebody wrote in the chat box, the body scan meditation really helped me while recovering from a concussion, dealing with headaches. That's great. That's really interesting. All right, so Mary, you and I were prepping before around this question, and we promised that we just kind of keep it loose as a conversation. So here, let me cue this up. So what we were talking about was the work of the writer and comedian Sarah Cooper, who, among other books, has written one entitled "How to Be Successful Without Hurting Men's Feelings: Non-Threatening Leadership Strategies for Women." In that book, Cooper writes the following, quote, "When describing your accomplishments, you need to strike a balance between tooting your own horn and hiding your horn behind the shed. This is difficult because if you don't take enough credit, you won't seem qualified, but if you take too much credit, you'll seem arrogant. Good luck with that," end quote. So I thought this was a really clever way to describe a quandary that most of us in the workplace will eventually face, though perhaps women most of all, which is finding that balance between recognizing and talking about our own achievements and the desire to act modestly. And I think this could be even more difficult, perhaps ironically, for mindful people, as mindful people can be inclined to think more about the success of the collective and focus not so much on their own personal achievements. All right, so let me sort of like get us into the question by asking, do you think there's a mindful way that we can talk about ourselves?
So there's a lot to unpack here, but to just work with that question, is there a mindful way? So the word mindful to me just means, with awareness. So whatever's going on in the moment within the body and the thoughts and feelings, that's a mindful way of being. I did a training last year with a man named Oren J. Sofer, and some of you might be familiar with him, senior teacher, West Coast based, but he comes out here every once in a while. And he was trained in nonviolent communication and has worked in the schools a lot. And he has developed a mindful communication training that is amazing. He runs it through his own mindfulness. So he takes that nonviolent communication principles through the filter of mindfulness. And as what I noticed for myself in that was there was a lot around ways of talking and listening that I have that are habitual, that are cultural, that are conditioned, that I wasn't even aware of. And I don't think it's uncommon, but it was really helpful to be guided through these exercises, through mindful exercises, to unpack for myself and within a group, just how rich that is. So I'm not even sure I answered your question, but I know there's no one answer, but it's a rich, rich soup of our own experience.
Well, so I mean, let me actually sort of get into a bit about what you were talking about with Oren J. Sofer. So I mean, it might be self-explanatory to some, but I'm wondering if you could talk a bit about what is meant when we say nonviolent communication. Like, how is that different from just the way that we would normally communicate?
Well, I would encourage, I am not trained in nonviolent communication, so I can't speak exactly. And again, some people may, so I will not, I would say if you're curious, look it up. But it has a lot to do with within our own self and within the larger world. So basically, what is my intention? And it is self-knowledge. So it's a natural springboard to work within mindfulness, because it does require that you have some connection with your own body sensations and what's happening to you relative to somebody else with body language, with the words that are being used, with the tone that's being used. So
yeah, that's really
again,
interesting. Yeah.
that doesn't specifically answer that, but I can't speak as a nonviolent communications trained person.
Yeah, I can begin to see, like, you know, what you're getting at, though. The idea that, you know, violence, of course, you know, arises. I mean, this again, this seems obvious, but really, but worth pointing out, violence arises from feelings within the body. And then if we are aware of those feelings and those sensations, and being able to sort of, you know, catch them before they erupt, then that is probably going to make a powerful difference in how we communicate and whether we turn towards violence. But
yes, and just skillfully working through that. So there's a lot around de-escalation and other things. You know, it's very timely. But again, I found it very, I just found it very enlightening to just begin to even sort of work within that untangling for myself. So I'd recommend it. I recommend his books or his trainings. I can't remember the name of his book. It's something like "Mean What You Say" or "Say What You Mean," something like that.
you know, I can find it. I can post it to the Facebook page
Thank
so
you.
both can see that. I mean, so not without getting too personal here. Have you found the ways that you communicate with people have changed since taking this this course?
I would say it's evolving. What I notice first of all is when the habit and conditioning comes up, or it's really more building awareness first of all. So the game changer was really more about the light bulb of, there's something else to play with here, something else to develop, you know, with speech and listening. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's great. I mean, I think what you're pointing to is that it's never too late to you know to learn, you know, and the
Thank goodness.
But, yeah, indeed. Well, Mary, I always hate to bring us to this part, but we are closing out. So let me just tell the folks at home, just remind everyone that we'll be back every Tuesday and Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. You can find the links to these sessions and other resources at our main site, harvardpilgrim.org/mindfulness. If you have any questions for our experts, please send them to askmtm@harvardpilgrim.org, and we will get them answered. Or feel free to leave me a voicemail at 617-509-7047. Now, you can see what we've been up to on our Facebook page at facebook.com/mindthemoment. And you can rewatch this session, older sessions, and introductory sessions on our YouTube page at youtube.com/mindthemoment. If I may just say a final word about nature, courtesy Lord Byron, who wrote, "There is a pleasure in the pathless woods. There is a rapture on the lonely shore. There is society where none intrudes by the deep sea and music in its roar. I love not man the less, but nature more." So, Mary, thank you for your kind and wise guidance this morning. I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind leaving us with a resource that you think people would find especially useful as they continue to go forth and grow their practice.
Sure. Well, I think, you know, that training, mindful communication, but also a book that I have on the recommendation of a friend and teacher. This is kind of working in a whole different thing, but My Grandmother's Hands, which Resma Menakem, but it's a lot of body-centered thing around I think it's racialized trauma and the pathway to mending our hearts and our bodies. But I bring it up because it has a lot around body-centered practices and awareness, including a body scan.
That's great.
There you go, My Grandmother's Hands.
Thank you so much, Mary. Thank you again. Thank you to everyone for joining us. We hope to see you soon. And please have a momentous day.